We're honored to welcome Dr. Luke Antonos Jr., an oral and maxillofacial surgeon whose path is built on precision, compassion, and triumph. From humble beginnings in Belgium to becoming a pillar of healing in Orlando.
5 years ago, my dad unfortunately passed away from cancer as well. Up until that point, and I know it's naive to think about it, but somehow I thought that I was eternal. You never think about death, and you're like,
I did too.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
He immigrated twice, once to Belgium and then later in life to the United States. So I don't think there's that many people that I know that have done this twice.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Your attitude is very, very positive.
Not to get political or anything, but I do believe the United States is the greatest country on earth, and I've traveled quite a bit.
I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah, it's all God, this ain't no love. Yeah, I used to be stuck in.
You're tuned into the EG Dominates podcast, coming to you today from Winter Garden, Florida. And my guest on the show is Dr. Luke Antonos, who is a oral surgeon at Oral Facial and Dental Surgery, dental implant surgery here in Winter Garden. And so excited to have you on the show, Dr. Antonos. So welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Antonos, you and I have known each other for a couple of years. We have never had the privilege of working together, but you are a neighbor of mine.
That is correct.
And, being in dental, we have a lot of mutual friends and doctors that I work with in the past that you work with. So, I know that by looking at your bio online, you have a really cool story, and you've been through a lot as far as what most people would do in one career. You've literally done twice. So I'm really excited to have you kind of share who you are and your philosophies and your principles. So we'll start off with let's take us back. Take us back. If I'm somebody that's seeing this for the first time. Where were you born? Where were you raised?
Well, I was born in Brussels, Belgium, from a Belgian mother, but my father was originally from Eastern Europe, from Bulgaria, so he immigrated to Belgium in the 70s sometimes. So my childhood, I kind of lived at different places. For the major part of my childhood, I lived in Belgium, but we also spent a year and a half in Portugal when I was 10, 11 years old. Because that's where my parents' occupation took them. And then in 1989-90, when the Berlin Wall fell, my dad had an urge to go back to his home country and see if he could be part of the rebuild, so to speak. So he basically took us to Bulgaria, Eastern Europe, and we lived there for about 5 years, from 1990 to 1995. And then that kind of got old because it was very, very turbulent of a place during those days. And my dad had a friend that had a second home here in Florida. So they came for a summer, the summer of 1995. It's almost 30 years to the date since my family kind of came to Florida for the first time in Orlando. And actually it was for them August 5th, 1995, when they arrived in Orlando. I was still in Europe when they came for the first time, but basically my parents fell in love with Florida, the weather, and I think my mother told my dad, I think I would love to make a life here for us and for our kids, and basically we moved here, and the rest is history, so to speak.
Well, Winter Garden is an incredible place to live. Mm-hmm. I've lived here for 15 years. The last 15 years, I have family that have moved cross country and all settled in Winter Garden as well. And it's just a really great place to raise a family. And you're so close to all the awesome amenities of Central Florida. We're 20 minutes from Disney World and Universal and 30 minutes from downtown, but we're so close to the beaches and everything else. We'll get to some of the hobbies later because I'm always curious to to find out what people in their families' hobbies are. So you end up going from Europe to Florida.
Yeah.
Before you get to Florida, what was life like living in Europe at that time?
Well, in Eastern Europe, for me, the most memorable years were when I was, a teenager. Because prior to that, as a kid, there's not much that or realize that is going on. But during those years, those were the first 5-6 years after the Berlin Wall had fell off, and Bulgaria was part of the Soviet bloc, so to speak. So it was a former communist country. So it was pretty chaotic. There was no rules, no order. It was fairly dangerous too, and that's why we left, because of the dangerous aspect of it. Back then, it wasn't part of the European community or things like that. It was pretty much the Wild Wild West for a period of time.
What would you compare it to? Is it comparable to anything like present day? Any cities or countries?
Yeah, so it's hard to tell because I haven't traveled to third world and second world countries, but basically any place that you can think of where it's not safe, the rule of law does not apply, there's massive corruption, and basically, life can be really rough, really tough, and unfair to a lot of different people. Not a great place to build your life and build a dream, so to speak.
What were your mom and dad doing for work? What was their careers?
So my parents were pretty much self-employed their whole life. So they had a variety of businesses. When we were in Bulgaria, they were in the coffee business. So basically they had a coffee roasting factory, and they were, basically distributing, coffee through the country and things like that. So they had a pretty good business going on. But in those places, when you have a little bit of success, you're a target, and it becomes problematic to keep what you built.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because it's very easy for multiple entities to try to take it away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
wow. So hardworking, very hardworking. Where do you think your work ethic and your drive comes from? Does it come from them? Does it come from someone else?
Obviously it comes, from them, but I think I'm from a family of people that taught us that if it's going to be, it's up to you, so to speak. So, in the countries where I was brought up, there's not really much of safety nets or things like that. So you have to make things happen, and you have to, work hard at it and be resourceful and be creative and go after things if you want to make something happen. There's no handouts over there. Nobody's going to bring you anything. So yeah. And my dad being an immigrant, even when he went to Belgium, which is a great country considering, he did not qualify for any handouts or any, entitlement. So he had to forge his way as best he could with the resources and the knowledge he had, and he started from the bottom, really from the bottom, compared to somebody like me, and so on. But he worked hard and he persevered, and he immigrated twice, once to Belgium and then later in life to the United States. So I don't think there's that many people that I know that have done this twice.
Yeah, that's remarkable. So when you moved to Florida, you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister. My brother's a year younger.
Okay.
His name is Chris. He lives in the Fort Lauderdale area. And my sister, Athena, she's about 11 years younger than me, and she lives around that area as well. But they grew up around here.
Okay.
And they moved down there for school, and they built their life there afterwards.
That's cool. So everyone's relatively close then for the most part. That's great. So when you moved to Florida, were you starting high school at this point?
No, actually, I moved here as a senior.
A senior in high school.
So, correct. Okay. Which, high school can be pretty intimidating, but imagine I was 16, 17 at the time. I literally came in September started high school. I think the school year already had started, so I kind of started between there.
Didn't know anybody.
No, didn't know anybody. My English was okay, but not great. Even now, it's not great. But back then, 30 years ago, was even worse.
What high school did you go to?
So I ended up going to Bishop Moore High School, and I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic, and through my mother and so on. However, I would have gone anywhere, but we tried to go to several schools, and they're the only ones that work with me to basically help me out, because all the other schools were like, well, the school you already has started, this, that, the other.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
Huh? Look at you now. The poster child for Bishop Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I probably should do better and be better and go back and say hi every once in a while.
Well, it's pretty incredible that you moved here in high school, and you went away to school, and you ended up coming back here, and this is where you were raising your family, and have a really big footprint in the community.
Yeah.
We'll kind of get to that in a little bit, but I feel the same way that you do.
Yeah.
West Orlando is a really great place, really great place. So you moved here, probably had never been to Disney World before, right? Never been to Gatorland.
There's still a couple of parks I've never been yet.
So you have a bucket list at least,
Yeah.
right? How were you as far as being a student? So you moved here, you finished high school. Did you go to college right after high school?
The answer is yes and no. So, when I came, I was right about 17 years of age. I spoke English, but my parents did not very much. So going to school, was something I did, but my second job was basically to help my parents, trying to find a way to survive and make a living and get around. So I was a translator, for
Oh, wow.
For them. Basically, I had to go with them everywhere, from the bank to the post office to.
They didn't have apps, or
No,
they didn't
no.
have an app for that back then.
And they, like I say, they're entrepreneurs, and they always were self-employed. So I assisted them with that for a very long time, and I participated in the family endeavors for quite a bit of time. And that took a lot of energy, time, and effort that I could not dedicate to myself, and so on, just for the greater good of the family and our survival, basically.
Sure, yeah.
So
I mean, at a young age, you are a major contributor to your family, because not only are you a translator,
yeah.
but you're probably working and making money too.
Yeah, so I worked with my parents in their businesses, so I did not earn money, and the work I did was pro bono, so to speak, to earn my keep.
Yeah.
But in our culture and in the families that we were raised, that's what you do. Especially when you're in a foreign place. Where you don't know anybody, you don't know the system, you don't know anything. It's easy now, 30 years later, where I'm pretty acquainted with a lot of things, but back then we weren't acquainted with nothing. We didn't know how things work, how the system works, how to get things done, and we've learned a lot of those things the hard way, unfortunately. But it was a great learning experience.
You seem like you always have a really good attitude about everything. From the time that I met you, so I'm going to tell you something that I've observed. You always are smiling, and you're always so upbeat. I'm sure that there's times that you're not, but for somebody that, is born in another country, that came here, who's, kind of worked your way up in life, in a sense, like your attitude is very, very positive.
Yeah, not to get political or anything, but I do believe the United States is the greatest country on earth, and I've traveled quite a bit. This country, I'm American and consider myself American before anything else, at this point. I would never leave this place for anywhere else. It's not perfect, but it's the best that I've seen. country of opportunities where, you can make something out of yourself if you really want to, which is not the case in 99% of the rest of the world. You know?
And you lived through it, so you can attest
because
to it.
what I've accomplished here is not something I could have accomplished in most countries around the world. You cannot go to another country, being from another country, and rise through the ranks, so to speak, and build yourself a decent life for you and your family. Like, that's very difficult to do outside of the United States. So
Yeah, that's why I wanted you on the show to tell this story. This is what I'm talking about.
yeah, I'm eternally grateful. I love this place. I love America. I love, I'm grateful for everything. Every morning when I wake up, I practice gratefulness, and I thank the Lord for, being healthy, living in what I consider the best place on earth. It's paradise here. Look at the weather. Look at everything we have, and the opportunities, and the health that I have, and my kids, my family, and everything. As you know, there's nothing more than health on this world. So I'm grateful every morning, for, let's knock on wood for now, being healthy and have healthy children.
I'm going to knock on wood for you too, Doc.
There you go.
Yeah, because you're right. You just never know. You wake up one day and I know firsthand, everything can change overnight.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I have that mindset that I think most people have. And it's, I'm going to live to be, 70, 80 years old. And then something like this happens. And all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm really young and I have a family. And there's so much that I still want to do and accomplish in my life. And there's graveyards full of people that thought they had more time.
Yeah. So to tell you, since we're talking about more time, I had an epiphany about 5 years ago. My dad unfortunately passed away from cancer as well. So he was kind of beside my grandparents, the first one that passed away, really close to me. So it was very, it happened very fast. So it happened all of a sudden. He basically went from being very healthy to being very sick and died in 9 months. And up until that point, and I know it's naive to think about it, but somehow I thought that I was eternal. You never think about death, and you're like,
I did too.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And when this hits you, you're like, oh my God, you're kind of the next in line, when this happens. And he always talk about, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and all this went out the window. And I remember a day or two before he passed, and I don't want to get emotional, but he basically apologized to my mother for all the things he could not do with her and so on. But so we're not going to be here forever, so I'm grateful. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you telling this story.
You're welcome.
Welcome. This is what it's all about. I love being able to connect doctors and people that are going through cancer, surviving cancer, with the people in our community, so that they can share their story in hopes of helping somebody else. You help one person, and it's all makes it all worth it. So thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
So we think about college now. Okay, so you told me before the lights and the camera turned on. You said, Eric, I've done like 2 careers.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what happened? And so you started to kind of tell me, and I'm like, okay, we have to share this on the show.
Yeah.
So you started off in undergrad. You have a finance degree, right?
Yeah, so if you even want to go back a little bit further, it is exactly correct. But when I finished high school, and basically when we first moved there, I did not know if I was going to stay here long term, because I didn't know if I could, if from an immigration standpoint, from a financial standpoint. So for the first 5-6 years after arriving, I was kind of in a limbo, not sure, trying to await what my fate would be and so on. But I knew I wanted to get some education, so I didn't know what. And unfortunately, when you're an immigrant and you don't qualify for anything, paying for school is very expensive because you don't qualify for in-state tuition.
Sure.
There is no financial aid. There is no student loans. and it's basically
No scholarships?
No scholarship. You pay as you go. So I actually started at Valencia Community College right here.
Oh, right on. Okay.
I got an AA degree. I went very slowly. I took a few classes here, few classes there, as I was working full time and so on.
What were you doing working?
I was working in my parents' business. They had at the time they had a gift shop in one of the tourist areas.
Okay.
That was one of them, and they had a couple of other things. But was helping them. So I wasn't making money for myself. I was just contributing to the family plan, so to speak. And the little money that we could, we would go, spend out-of-state tuition at Valencia to get, some type of course. It's funny that you say that, but, English Composition 1, which is a pretty basic course, I think I failed it 3 times just because, I went through the class and at the end of the semester, it's an essay you have to write. And 2 times I failed them because they told me, it's a decent essay, but you didn't answer the question we asked. So, because I didn't understand what the question being asked was. But just to tell you, I went from that to being here. So it's definitely, possible through persistent hard work and effort. Yeah. But as I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, people advised me that, study business finance. It might serve you in many ways in the future, business administration and so on. So that's what I did, and I never really used my degree in finance proper to go find a corporate job, so to speak, because when I looked, it was all these desk jobs or sales jobs, and I didn't feel that I wanted to do that. And in finance, some of those sales jobs, you don't necessarily help the people that you service. So that's not something I wanted to do with my life. And then I was in my mid-20s. During a Christmas season, I went to visit my in-laws, and my wife is from Slovakia, the Slovak Republic, from Bratislava, a former communist country as well. And we were spending a couple of weeks. It was winter, snowing, like probably you've seen the Rocky movies when he's in Russia.
I went to college in North Dakota, so
there you go.
Yeah, I know. I know about that.
And over there, during the Christmas season, for 2 weeks, everything is closed. For the most part, like all the businesses, the school, even restaurant and so on and things like that. And all of a sudden I started having this raging toothache, literally. And for a couple of days, we tried to do antibiotics, ibuprofen and things like that. And I was like, man, I've never had this before. I can't take it. So my in-laws found this emergency dental clinic that opened, and I think it was literally like December 26th or something like that, at 6 p.m. And I remember it was snowing, so they took me there. We got out of the car. It was first come, first serve, so you get in line. I think there was 4 or 5 people in front of me, got in line. And then by the time they saw me, there was another 4 or 5 people behind me.
Wow, okay.
And, basically in agony, spending Christmas over there. And I went in, it was that, after-hour emergency clinic that they saw patients after hours and night, and they were pretty busy. I had an infection, and the dentist over there, which didn't speak a word of English, I didn't understand him, so my in-laws and my wife translated, basically.
Okay.
Did the first stages of a root canal, and, gave me antibiotics, cleaned it up, and there was immediate relief. I don't know if you guys ever had a root canal that really needs to be done. The relief, it's instant. And I had a moment during that, and I'm like, I was grateful. I'm like, man, this guy really changed my life right now. I went from not being able to live and function to I'm doing okay. Yeah. And I'm like, why? I asked myself, why didn't I do something like this, that's meaningful, where I can help people? It's, and I didn't really think too much about it, but I guess the seed was planted.
How old were you?
Man, when was that? that was probably 2006, 7, I would imagine, if I think. So at that point, I'm born in 78, so yeah, 27, 26 years old.
Wow.
Sorry for my math.
No, but you think about most people graduate, or they go
Yeah.
to college, they graduate, and by the time they become 27, 28, like, they're fully established, you know, for the most part, probably in their career, in the company that they've, you know, probably worked for a couple of years. And here you are going, man, you know what? I think I'm gonna start over and do something different.
Yeah, but you know, also when I turned 26, that's when I became part of society. Where, you know, by then, you know, my parents had got like green cards for me, my siblings, so I could become a full part of the community with all the privileges that it affords. So it also opened my mind. I was like, you know, I didn't get those opportunities when I was 18, but now.
Now you can
now
take
I can.
advantage, yeah.
And I was skeptical, and you know, at the end of the day, my biggest enemy was myself. I had to, and it took me a few months. I had to convince myself that it was okay for me to pursue this and maybe giving it a shot, because you know, you're working, people depend on you, you have to make a living, and so on.
It's a big change too. That's probably very scary, you know.
Yeah, no, it is a big change. And, you know, I never had, like, as I mentioned briefly, I've never had studied science prior to that point. So I was very intimidated whether I would have the brain power to be able, you know, to become, you know, a dentist, a surgeon, you know, a doctor, and so on. So at first, I wasn't sure that I could. And so I wanted to prove to myself that I could. So one day I picked up the car, I went to the local Barnes and Nobles, and I was looking at science books. And it sounds dumb now, but that's what I did. I found the For Dummies series.
Yeah.
And they had Bio 1 for Dummies, Bio 2 for Dummies, Chem 1 for Dummies, Chem 2 for Dummies, Organic Chemistry for Dummies, Physics for Dummies, all of those. So I bought like 10 books, I think.
About 10 dummy books.
Yeah, 10 dummy books. And then I made myself a schedule. I turned off cable TV and everything. And for about 3 months, I basically self-studied after work, like 6 to 7 hours every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I wanted, you know.
It's discipline.
Yeah, I wanted to see if I had the brain power to be able to do this. And, you know, I did it, and I was fairly successful in my own mind with what I was doing. So before I decided to do that again, I had graduated from UCF by then with a finance degree. So I was researching a little bit, and I saw that UCF had a pre-dental association or something. So I went to a couple of those just to hear them out and so on. And then I met a couple of local dentists, and I think I asked them, hey, would you mind if I come spend time, see what you do? I'm thinking about maybe doing this, but I'm not sure, and so on. So I did. There was 2 dentists that I shadowed, and I remember the conversation with one of them. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about maybe doing that, but I hear and I read that it's very competitive, so, you know, kind of don't know. And I remember he looked at me, he's like, so compete. and that's basically, you know, was the starting line. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And basically in 2007 I went back to UCF, and in a year and a half I went in overdrive. I took, like, you know, the double amount of credits that typical students take. I studied for the DAT, applied to the University of Florida, and luckily for me, I got in. I got an acceptance letter in December 2009. So it was about a year and a half after I told myself I'm going to do this. And I was just fortunate, you know, a lot of it is luck and so on. So I'm grateful that I'm sometimes a lucky guy too. It helps and so on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then once I got accepted, one of the dentists told me that, you know, why don't you go spend some time with some of the specialists in our field, so that at least you know what they do, you get to know more about the field before you actually start dental school. And I did. I spent some time with an orthodontist. I spent some time with an oral surgeon. And when I spent time with the oral surgeon, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I had no idea that as a dentist you can, do all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I told myself, I think I'm going to try to do this. But obviously that's very tough too, and it's competitive and so on. So, I'm saying I'll try and we'll see what happens. And, I tried and it happened.
That's awesome. So when it comes to oral surgery, you have this practice here, beautiful practice.
Thank you.
You've been here for 8 years.
Yeah, a little bit over, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the type of procedures that you do here. And tell me a little bit more, I guess, about, so you have this practice here, but you have a group of other oral surgeons that you work with that have some other locations.
Yeah. So, I'm part of a group with, 5 other amazing doctors. We have 4 offices throughout the greater Orlando area. We have this one in Dr. Phillips, one in Kissimmee, and one by UCF. There's 4 oral surgeons, myself, Dr. Morales, Dr. Sheikh, and Dr. Alicea. And then we have an oral pathologist, which is Dr. Belknap, and a TMJ/facial pain doctor, which is Dr. Moore. And yeah, great guys. And the way I came about to be part of this group is I was in residency, second year of residency, and I was in Virginia at the time. And I always knew that I wanted to come back to Orlando, to where I grew up. My parents literally lived like a mile, behind me right here. So I basically emailed most of the major oral surgery groups in Orlando, and to introduce myself. Basically, the email went, "Hey, I'm Luke Antonos. I'm in residency in Virginia. I'm from Orlando. I would love to come back to Orlando. I just wanted to inform you guys that I existed in case, maybe in the next few years you guys have a surgeon that may retire, or you're thinking about expanding, opening a new office, and so on." And to my surprise, pretty much all of them, answer me. And in the greater Orlando, there's really 3 oral surgery groups, and so on. And I ended up spending time with all 3 groups and interviewing with all 3 of them. And when I met Ophelia Morales, which is our senior partner over there was a lot of chemistry. He's an immigrant as well, so our lives are fairly similar. He's just ahead of it by 20 years. And I fell in love with their practice philosophy, their scope of practice, their reputation, and so basically he's like, "Look, we'd love to bring you on board. We don't have an office in mind yet, but we'll start looking." And basically, I think we were looking either here or the Lake Nona area. Those were the areas where there was some growth and where there was a need, and so on. And we came across this area over here, and it was like, it was meant to be. I'm like, I grew up here, like my parents live a mile down the road.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
You're
so
literally able to move back here,
yeah.
and they opened this practice here.
Correct.
In a sense,
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly how it happened, and it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm, grateful for, like, another one of those times where I was very, very lucky.
That's really cool. So you come, this office opens up 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had mentioned, I work with dozens of doctors in the past that refer patients to you. What kind of procedures are you doing here?
Yeah, so we do pretty much all the traditional oral and maxillofacial surgery procedures that are done in our industry and so on. So as oral and maxillofacial surgeon, really, we have two lives. We have the hospital life and the office life. In the office, traditionally, we'll do, a lot of the dental alveolar procedures, such as, wisdom teeth extractions, bone grafting, dental implants, pathology, biopsies, minor, dental alveolar trauma, and so on. In the hospital, that's where we do the bigger stuff, like trauma, orthodontic surgery, bigger pathology cases, and so on, with reconstruction, and so on. So for the first 6-7 years that I was back, we were going full throttle. So I was part of the Orlando Health department of oral maxillofacial surgery. So we were taking level 1 trauma for them and oral surgical. So the trauma is where people get in car accidents or, get shot or get into physical altercation or fall off their bikes or whatever it is. So we fix their facial fractures, not just the jaw and the teeth, but, the eyeballs, the foreheads, the mid-face, and so on. We did quite a bit of orthodontic, surgery procedures over there as well. But it, we were very, very busy. And at some point we had to, kind of pick, where we could spend our time. And so still have privileges over there, but we're doing a little bit less of that big stuff, nowadays and so on. Yeah.
So what kind of procedures in this area, Winter Garden, do you do the most of?
Yeah, so, a lot of, wisdom teeth, this is an area that's like you and my family, like in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that have, teenagers and things like that. So we have a fair amount of that, any type of oral surgery people that have cracked teeth, infections, that need to replace the dental implants, grafting, and so on. So that's a big part, of our practice.
What type of procedures do you enjoy doing the most? And I know when I ask that question, everyone always goes, "Oh, I enjoy doing all of them." But
yeah,
what stands out in your mind?
Yeah, and what you just said is true,
Okay.
And things like that. But what I do a lot and what I enjoy doing, I love, doing dental alveolar surgery, wisdom teeth, dental implants, and stuff like that. I kind of enjoy it.
In this area, I know that, Winter Garden, I think, is a high concentration of people that, like you were saying a minute ago, are in their 40s and 50s, and you see like a lot of younger families starting to move to the area. When it comes to like dental implants, is there a lot of people out here that are getting like multiple implants or like implant dentures and things like that?
Yeah, no. Yes and no. So, we have 4 different offices, and the offices are in different areas with different demographics and different age group and so on. This is more an area where, people will have, 1 or 2 teeth that need to be replaced because they had a root canal that was done 15 years ago and, the tooth cracked or infection and things like that. But, I'm not in the villages where, people need, a multitude,
Sure.
of those type of things. We have them every once in a while, but it's not the majority of what I do. Yeah.
So when it comes to, to being not only a doctor, but, also the leader of the practice, a business owner, what are some of your philosophies when it comes to the way that you go about coaching and developing your team?
Yeah, so, one of the things, first of all, I look for team members that have a good attitude because everything else we can train, but somebody that doesn't have a good attitude, it's very hard to coach and so on and to transform that. And the philosophy is like, how would I want to be treated if I go somewhere? That's really what I go by. And I tell them, we try to be, and I tell them that when we have meetings is that we are a white glove practice. That's how I want you to treat everybody that comes through the door. Like if
We talk about that a lot on my show, is
Yeah.
the patient experience. Can
Yeah.
you walk us through with that white glove? In your opinion, what does that experience look like? So if I'm a dentist and I'm seeing this for the first time, I've never referred somebody to you before, and I'm watching this. White glove. What
Yeah.
What does the experience mean coming here?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's, me and the staff to be as personable as possible and be patient-centric as possible. And, making sure that when you come see us, we have your best interest in mind, and we're here to serve you and help you as much or as little as you need or you want us to help with, and so on. Also, the patient experience, like the friendliness, the comfort. Oral surgery is very intimidating and very scary for a lot of people. And I see a lot of kids, I see a lot of teenagers. So a lot of time this will be their first experience with surgeries, with anesthesia, and so on. So I want to make sure that they understand that we care about them, we're competent, we have their safety and comfort in mind at all times, and that we'll do everything we can to make this the best experience that they can, considering, that they're getting oral surgery. I wish there were massages, but it's oral surgery.
No massage chairs in here,
No.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. It's so important because you are an extension of that referring doctor, and you want to make sure that when that patient goes back to them, they're like, man, Dr. Antonos was incredible and his team was amazing, because you have one shot during that consult in a short period of time to be able to convey that message and to be able to form some kind of emotional connection with that patient.
Yeah, no, it's obviously chemistry in every human interaction is, something that everybody looks for. And I'd like to think I'm a personable guy, and I'm usually easygoing with most human beings. And I want my staff to try to do the same. Obviously, when you come, whether it's a consultation or surgery, most patients are nervous. They have questions that half the time they forget to ask because of that nervousness and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're all approachable, that they know we're reachable. I give every patient my cell phone number. You text me, you have an issue, a question, and so on. I'm very territorial and protective of my patients, and my staff knows it. Drives them crazy at sometimes because, I watch them like a hawk, and sometimes they don't like it as much as they should. But, it is what it is. Their life, many instances in my hands, especially with anesthesia. Like I have a family that entrusts me their teenager, to put them to sleep and to do surgery. I have a couple of kids myself. That's the most valuable thing I have to give,
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, you talked about your work, and then you have life, and we've got a work-life balance, right? What are some of the things that you enjoy doing with your family for fun in West Orlando or in Central Florida?
Yeah, so, I'm probably not as exciting as some others, but, we like to take trips, not necessarily in Central Florida, but, we go, I would like my kids to be exposed to, many different things and populations and ethnic groups and socioeconomic status and all that you can do. So, we take trips, like weekend trips and, day trips left and right. So we like to do that. My kids are very busy with school and with, school activities. So one of my part-time gigs is like an Uber driver for them.
I feel the same way. I'm doing that right now myself. Yeah.
My wife does way more than me, but...
I think my next shift starts in about 20 minutes as soon as we wrap this episode, too.
Yeah, no, exactly. We have a dog that we love, so we love taking walks with him. You know, like going to the beach, the pool. My kids love parks and the roller coaster, so we do a fair amount of that.
Are you more of a Disney family or Universal?
I think they like Disney more, but they like Universal too. I think they just spent more time in Disney. And
We got SeaWorld too.
They love all of it.
And it's nice because it's so close. Is there anything I noticed, when I went through my battle with cancer this past year, there was a couple months where I was down and out at the house. And in the morning, I would get up and I would take my bird out and we walk around the cul-de-sac. And there were several times that I saw you on your bike.
Yeah.
So you're an avid cyclist too, correct?
Yeah, I do cycle. I wish I was a more professional about it, but I try to bike every morning, or at least five mornings a week, and I try to go to the gym. And I love doing it, but also, what we do is very taxing on our bodies. So it's like anything else. We have to maintain our bodies for longevity, not just of life, but longevity of being able to practice. Because if you don't have a healthy and strong body, and I'm sure you have seen a dentist and oral surgeon, some of them throw the towel earlier than they should because they have neck problems, back problems, hand problems.
Arthritis.
Yeah, so maintaining yourself is very important. And I learned that from my senior partner, Dr. Morales is big into that as well. So he was my role model when it came to that. So
what about your diet? Do you have any special diet? Or
yeah. So, another thing that's probably where I should do better. But I try to do I'm allergic to carbs. And what I mean by that, when I eat them, I swell.
I do too, yeah.
So I try to do a lower carb diet. I try to limit my caloric intakes, but I cheat more than I should. And I have a sweet tooth at night, and that drives me crazy. And I do really good all day, and then, right before the finish line, sometimes I grow weak. And
So do you find yourself do you diet in phases, or are you pretty consistent with your workout schedule? Sounds like you're probably counting calories, so you know.
Yeah, I'm not too fanatical about counting the calories, but I have a pretty good idea of where I should be.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty religious about working out and going to the gym. And I wasn't always like that. It probably started about 3-4 years ago when my body started hurting. There was a period I was just like 2, 3, or maybe 4 years in practice, and I'm like, oh, my back hurts, my hips hurt, my knee hurts.
Were you working out and doing the things you're doing now?
No, I wasn't, and that's why I started. And to tell you the truth, since I've started, it's gone. I don't have any pain or any aches anywhere.
I think I saw it a couple of years ago. I think you and I had a conversation about this. I vaguely remember this because back then you were walking a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I had sciatica.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get rid of it. And I ended up losing 80 pounds.
Yeah, you lost a lot of weight. I remember it was right about COVID time, right?
It was, that was when I turned 40 years old. I looked at myself in photos.
Yeah.
And over the years, and you probably do the same thing. I'm looking at photos with my kids and my wife, and I'm like, man, I remember actually sitting at the hibachi restaurant, Ahi in Winter Garden Village, and we're there for my son's birthday, so we're doing the hibachi thing, and I'm looking at photos, and I'm like, man, when did I get so big? And she goes, hey, you gain 5 pounds a year over the course of 10 to 12 years. Yeah. That's what happens. It creeps up on you. So I did that high protein, little to no carb diet.
Yeah. No, that works for me too. Yeah. That's the best thing I've seen work for my body. So that's basically what I do.
Love it. So I guess in closing, what do you want people to know about you that are seeing this or learning about you for the first time, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, I don't know that it is anything specific. I really did that for you. I follow you. I like your story. I like you. I want to participate, and obviously, you're from here. I'm from here too. But nothing. Just to, if one message. I'm from here. I work here. I live here. This is my home. This is my community. I plan on being here forever, hopefully.
Okay.
I have family members that rest in peace, down the street right here. So for me, this is my home. I'm part of the community. I shop here. I dine here. So
You're a great person.
I appreciate it.
That's why I wanted to have you on my show, is because I look for people that have a good story to tell, that are genuinely good people here in the heart, and I feel that from you. And I know, like I said, tons of doctors that respect the heck out of you and really enjoy you as a person, and really believe in your skills clinically and professionally.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and it's a work in progress. I try every day. We can always do better every day, and that's one of the things that I try to do. I try to do better every day, whether it's as a person, clinically, as a human being, as a father, as a husband. It's never ending. There's always a new fight, a new battle, a new thing you can improve on. So, like I said, we try to do the best we can with what we have, and hopefully, we get through it, and it's good enough for ourselves and for the people around us.
Well, we appreciate you, Dr. Antonos, and thanks for coming on the show, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, and all the best to you. And I'll knock on wood for you and for myself and everybody else.
I was down, but now I'm up.